session is moderated by Charu Thapar, and the name of the session is Women Think Tank to Deliberate on Indian Real Estate Strength and Weaknesses. This is our panel discussion 2, and the session will be moderated by Charu Thapar, who is an Executive Director, Property and Asset Management, Asia Pacific, Head and Strategy, Platform and Emerging Markets from JLL. Charu is with over 27 years of experience. Mentors key emerging markets to provide delivery solutions to clients, promote technology, increase market presence in the PropTech space, strengthen the cross-border collaborations and partnerships with the clients to provide efficiencies and quality services. Charu also shepherds JLL's D&I initiatives firm-wide and champions CSR for India. Let me introduce our speakers in the alphabetical order. First one, we have Dr. Ananta S. Raghuvanshi, who is the founder and president from NAREDCO MAHI. Dr. Raghuvanshi, a TEDx and Cambridge Seeding STEM speaker, is a real estate industry veteran with more than 3 decades of experience. She now leads NAREDCO MAHI under the aegis of Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Earlier, she had held prestigious assignments at DLF, MRMGF, and DMEC. Next in the list, we have Dr. Ananya Gandotra, who is a Senior Vice President, Design and Operations from Mogra Realty. Dr. Gandotra is a real estate and construction specialist with over 3 decades of experience. She has helped design, launch, and deliver many marquee events like Birla Niara, Taj Dubai, to name a few. She is passionate about playing a pivotal role with new real estate development arms of conglomerates. Next in the list, we have Shaifali Singh, who is a Vice President from DivyaSree. Shaifali, a key member of DivyaSree's senior leadership team, brings 20 years of diverse experience in India's real estate sector. Leading the residential business unit, her strengths lie in strategic formulation, operational excellence, and financial acumen. Beyond P&L responsibilities, she oversees group finance, group fundraising, and plays a pivotal role in business growth. Next, I would like to call Sheetal Vanwari, who is the head of marketing from Awfis. Sheetal is a seasoned professional with an impressive career in marketing and advertising. At Awfis, she spearheads the company's marketing endeavors, establishing the processes, fostering the community engagement, managing PR activities, executing BTL advertising campaigns, overseeing the digital and performance marketing initiatives, managing social media platforms, and driving thought leadership initiatives. After that, I would like to call Swathy Sivaraman, who is the CEO and Chief Designer from Storeyboard Design. Swathy, a Master of Sustainable Design from Harvard University, started her design firm in 2014. Since then, she has been steering the firm to surpass the existing benchmarks. The company, under her leadership, has delivered more than 200 projects, from homes and offices to retail stores, hotels, and schools. And the last one is we have Yasha Saraf, who is a co-founder, ArisUnitern Real Estate Solutions Private Limited. Yasha Saraf brings nearly 20 years of real estate expertise with a career including key marketing roles at Lodha Group, Ozone, and Shriram Properties. Yasha co-founded Collider Realty, a startup which is empowering ambitious developers and now drives transformative change at ArisUnitern Real Estate Solutions. Now, I request our moderator to please take over the proceedings.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted and thanks to Realty Plus for inviting this eclectic panel for a great discussion, which I think will be extremely insightful. And thank you for a great introduction. So, I think before we delve into this this really key important topic of what we believe are the strengths and weaknesses of the real estate sector, and some would be sector specific, and then some would be seen from the lens of female leaders. I would really like to get, the personality and a little bit of a personalization into this conversation. And there's one question I'm very keen to ask all my panelists today is, and I think everyone on the panel has a whole lot of experience. Some people have 28, 30 years of experience. I would really like to know, given this really exciting journey you've had in real estate, what have been your personal highlights and lowlights as you've traversed through this journey to be where we are today on this Friday evening, 31st of May. Let me start with you, Dr. Ananta. I know you have many fans in the industry. So as you are, leading NAREDCO and the MAHI champions, so it would be great to hear of your experiences before we actually get into the deeper subject of the real estate itself. So over to you, Dr. Ananta.
Thank you so much, Charu. Good evening, and good evening to my fellow panelists as well as to our lovely audience. It's always a pleasure to be on an all-women panel in real estate. So let's talk about the lows first. So, Charu, just like you said, there were the 90s, then the 2000s, the 2010s, and then the 2020s now. So when you talk about lows, if you go back to the 90s, that was a point where, the word builder was something to be feared of, Also, if you went into the marketplace, the demand was a lot more than the supply. So getting an allotment itself for a buyer was a big deal. Also, those were times when the plans could change, the allotment, the unit allotted could change, the specifications could change. So that was the 90s. Now, fast forward to today. Today, we are sitting in a place where we are talking ESG, we are talking CSR, we are talking inclusion, sustainability, carbon points, carbon credits, water saving. So the whole world has changed and it's turned upside down in a very good way. So those low points today, the very same low points are today the highlights. If you talk about personal, lows and highs, Charu, I think I was really lucky to be at the right place at the right time. When I started working in June 91, my first job was with DLF. And DLF was very professional even then. And it was an organization which actually wanted women in certain roles, wherever there were relationships, sales, marketing, control, admin, legal, HR. Women were there all over, architects, interior designers, even then. So I was in a very good space that way. Also from there, I only moved from strength to strength, as the chief executive of EMAR, or whether it was as the India country head for DAMAC, or the senior executive director for Experion. All four organizations spread over 32 years of my professional journey. They were all actually running it like a corporate, So it was a good space. Yes, the difficult part was the marketplace wasn't kind of really there because brokers needed training and professional brokers and IPCs were just about entering. So that hand-holding today at NAR, you have 50,000 trained professional brokers. So the whole world has changed, Charu, and for the good, for the better. And so happy to be seeing this transformation.
Thank you, Dr. Ananta. I mean, I'm very keen to hear from all the panelists. So perhaps we can jump over to, and I'm no particular order. That's how I'm seeing on the screen. Maybe Yasha, you want to go next?
Hi, Charu. Hi, everyone. It's lovely to be a part of such a panel, as Dr. Ananta said. So yeah, my journey is about 18 odd years in real estate. It used to be an era where launching a project used to be the easiest thing in the world, All the developers had absolute no fear of overcommitments. There was no fear of giving compensations. There was absolutely no fear of delaying the possessions. So I've joined real estate in 2007. There was no RERA, no regulations, and that used to be the era. 18 years have passed, and we keep meeting the developers day in and out, and it's a surreal change where I keep talking to the developers, and they are now talking about proactively about product developments, about faster construction, timely delivery, and all of that. So I think industry that way has definitely graduated to a very, very good level. Personal journey, I think I've been really lucky to have found some amazing mentors throughout the journey who kept supporting me. I kept learning from them. I've not studied much in life. The only thing that I had was just hard work and learning from people. That's exactly what I've done in the last 18 odd years. I was lucky to get that kind of support from my mentors, but I'll tell you something. I have seen a lot of bias in the industry, and this is not a usual thing that people support the women leaders as much as I've been supported. So now what I do, I've co-founded a company called Unitern. It is a small startup. We are basically the extended teams of a lot of developers. We supply materials, we do funding for them. We also do consulting, and we execute those consulting strategies also. So basically like a one-stop solution. And I'm very happy to say that, we have women all over. Like our HR head is a woman. I am a woman amongst the 4 co-founders. So we have women at equal strength as much as men are there in the company. And I'm happy and very, very satisfied in life that I'm able to build something like this after 18 years being in real estate. Yeah.
Thanks, Yasha, for calling out the fact that, and I think this is a hard reality to face, that you got to be lucky to get a supportive environment. And I think all of us could perhaps echo the same thought. But let me jump over to Dr. Gandotra and see what her experiences have been.
Yeah, thank you, Charu. So I'll just start with the, basically the high points. And personally, for me, the high points have been working with stalwarts, professionals, and people who actually know what they're talking about. So essentially could be the promoters of organizations. So when you go to organizations where you have a promoter who is very knowledgeable, or I would rather say goes into the detail, has an eye for detail, you know that you're in good hands, especially when you are in the early stages of learning and in your professional life. Because in our industry, in real estate, specifically from the technical side, like I'm an architect and I've worked in architecture for a very long time. So working with architects, who are very knowledgeable, or working with promoters who are imbibed in understanding the technicalities and details of the product, which is a building, I think that helps in the learning process early in life. The second part that I feel is that I've been exposed to the best practices. I have, for most of my life, worked with very large organizations which had certain processes in place. So I have been able to kind of take on board the best practices in the industry. And then thereby, if you step into a setup which hasn't got those, you're able to get those processes in very quickly. And making sure that small things like, let's just say, doing a contract, doing procurement, various different aspects of developing a product or a project, you should know how to do it well. And then, of course, there could be shortcuts and things like that. But if you don't know, whether you call it by the book or whatever, you should know how to do it. So the third point for me as a strength has been diversity and inclusion, which many a times have been talked about. Never once, wherever I've worked, I've been questioned that you are a woman, and thereby you are on a disadvantage on this position. So that for me has been a great strength personally. And I was, looking at the previous speaker. For me, I'm a PhD in architecture, so it had the whole thing of going to various gold medalist and stuff like this. So I've been able to put my education to good use. So I do feel whether especially for women, I think education is extremely important, because when you are in an organization and you have a good education and you have good experience, you can compete equally. And then no one can really question whether you are a man or a woman. So that has been one of the strengths that has been there or highlights for me. The low point is sometimes when you get into a new organization is a trust factor. So especially in real estate, it's a very complex kind of a setup. You work with multiple diverse kind of verticals: marketing, sales, liaison. You work with legal. You work with various different departments: design, technical, construction, execution, operations. Now, to build in a trust factor into the organization, it takes a little time because of the way the real estate and construction industry is. And the other thing is that I feel is, there is a lot of liaison involved in real estate. So I think the more minimization or optimization we can do on the liaison part of it, I think it will be better in all for the industry as such. So those are some of the low points that I feel that are there, not just in my personal journey, but as industry as such.
Yes, I think I agree with a lot of points. And as I said, an extremely Ananya, you said how many years of experience?
I have around 30 years.
Okay, all right. Okay, and with that, let's move over to Sheetal.
Hi, Charu. Hi, everyone. I'm really glad to be part of this panel and connected with all of y'all. I have a slightly more unique story. I do not have that much experience in real estate. I come from an agency background. So for me, my experience moving to the real estate sector was completely different. And, so from when you come from an agency, the culture is completely different. The hierarchy is not there, and it's a more democratic process. When I moved to the, what we call the client side, and I moved to real estate almost a decade now, what struck me was how passionate people were about real estate, and that went across departments. So, and that passion was quite contagious. I did not particularly find that there was anything, targeted towards me being different because I'm a woman. However, I did notice that, the seat at the table for a lot of women in the leadership, it was more male dominated, which as and when I have been around, I've seen it change. I completely agree with one of the points that Dr. Ananya made about confidence, because I think we've had to, and everyone here has been instrumental in making their space. And so, it's not something that is given to you. I had read this somewhere that you have to be twice as smart as a woman to get that place. And, so that really makes a lot of difference. And the other thing is that from a shared space, part of real estate, which by itself is a very nascent category. So there is, more, I would say, diversity in the kind of people that we have, or the kind of, space that we create for women or otherwise. So that's been my experience so far, and I absolutely love it as of now. And I'm hoping that together we will also be the people who will create a safe space for other women to come in, so that panels such as these will be talking about there is absolutely nothing that we have great women leaders there to look up to.
Yeah, very well said, Sheetal. And I'm hoping that through our conversation as we progress, some of those insights will come through. But with that, Shaifali, given your really deep experience, I'm really looking forward to hearing from you.
Sure. Thank you, Charu, and thank you, everyone. And like everyone is saying, I completely resonate that it's a great honor to be on this panel with likes of all the panelists which are there. So I think, Charu, I'll divide the question into two parts. Number one, I have been, to start with, I have approximately about 25 years of real estate experience. Large part of it is in Bangalore. And the highest of highs and the lowest of lows is very much like Bangalore infrastructure. So what 2000 Bangalore was and what it is in 2023, this is exactly what real estate cycle across the country has been. What used to take 15 minutes now won't reach the destination in 1.5 hours as well. So I think that is how real estate has also evolved from a very supplier-driven market to, at one point, to a very consumer-driven market. And today, I think as it is morphing on, it's morphed into a very balanced approach where both sides of the supply and the demand are very educated, very balanced. And both of them, and I would say that I think everyone, all the stakeholders today are very clear about what they want to deliver. And the end user is very clear what they want to have, right? Or as an end product. So today, what is good to see is the unorganized sector that we saw in 1980s, 1990s, coming into a very research-oriented, and I think one of the panelists referred to it, that the kind of research that is going inside today in real estate sector, where it's almost becoming as if there is a science behind it. Right. So gone are the days when even your, a panwala could do real estate brokerage, right? Those were one of those days. But today, there are people recognize that even if whether it's a small end user of looking at buying a residential apartment, either way, the corporate commercial real estate has always been a very matured market. There is a reason why India today is called Office of the World, or would be called Office of the World soon. So even in the very otherwise an unorganized sector, which is the residential space, you see clients ready to pay the value for the right advice, for the right product. So that is what I believe, that I think Indian real estate is going to be more matured, more organized going forward. The good thing is the government is leading the way towards it, right? No matter all of us, I come from a developer community. Yes, we all say that RERA can be very restrictive, but when you look at it, right, all these regulations which the government framework is offering, it also makes us accountable and responsible for the product that we deliver. And in the result, as a result of it, what we are doing is we are developing a community. We are creating a community which will survive for the next 30, 40 years. And it's a very important thing, right? Because the reason I say so, see, a building which is constructed, whichever asset class, whether it is residential, commercial, retail, schools, colleges, it's going to last for minimum of 30 to 40 years, which means 3 to 4 generations are going to be using it, right? That is how human behavior would be interacting. I mean, these spaces would define how humans interact with each other, whether it is a 3 BHK apartment or it's of 50,000 square feet of floor plate. So the responsibility of figuring out how societal connections happen, how community connects with each other is something that I believe comes along as being member of this real estate industry. And I think more and more developers and more real estate stakeholders are recognizing it and moving forward on those lines. On the lowest of lows, I think I think as an industry, I see us as growing. So there's only an upswing which is happening, and we are also learning. I wouldn't say the industry per se has lowest of lows. Of course, like every other industry, there is demand for infrastructure, and like Dr. Ananya said, that it's licensing delays, etc. Those are things, but that I think is part of every industry. It's not very specific to real estate industry, and that's also a nature of that's how you grow. Now that was on the industry. Personally speaking, I think I resonate with everybody. I have been associated with real estate industry now for about, like I said, 25 years. I don't see or remember or recall a day where I have made to feel my gender, right? And I think that's also, there are two things. It's also what we represent, what we get on the table. If we cry out, and I'm sorry, maybe this is too radical, but I think if we, because maybe that's the reason also, because I haven't seen myself as a gender first and then Sheifali later. Right. So if we start carrying our own identity first and then become gender agnostic, I think the ecosystem around us will treat us similarly. The lowest is, and I would agree with probably what Sheetal said, that it's more self-inflicted. I think women sometime to have a little more of those self-inflicted guilt that, am I good enough? Am I working as hard? So the question is not outside. I think it's more internal that we need to talk about. The additional pressure that we take on ourselves, that I have to work much harder. If we put a foot down and operate in a way that this is it, I'm working equally, I think at some point the ecosystem will morph. I also agree with what Sheetal said, that I think in the last 10 years, across the industry, I have seen that gender gap going away, right? And more people are hiring team members because of their talent and their capability, and are not looking at these things, or are not looking at the gender first or any other restrictions. So that's what I believe, that probably, and I hope that maybe in the next 2-3 years, we don't have this gender diversity as a topic, or as a burning topic to go through it, right? So those are my points. And I would also agree that I think, like Yasha said, like Sheetal said, I have also been at the right place at the right time. I have been surrounded by managers and mentors who have also not made me feel as if I'm a woman, even though we have been associated with every aspect of real estate now, full cycle.
Yeah, I think very well said in terms of where each person's journey has been defined at, right? Where you land at really does define how smooth your journey goes. And Swathy, let's hear it from you. And I think there's some interesting insights emerging already as I'm hearing all of you. But Swathy, over to you.
Hi. It's amazing to be amongst all you wonderful women icons. I think that in itself is a high point for all of us here. And coming to reflecting on my journey as a real estate professional, I think I come from an ancillary supporting wing. So we are an interior design and execution company. And one of my biggest highs has been that, after studying abroad, I've returned back to India, and I gave birth to my second child. That's my company, or that I call. And being a first-time entrepreneur, every day was a new challenge. Being a male-dominated industry, I've not felt the discrimination so much, but you're constantly, learning and evolving in this process. And it was really rewarding to empower others through your voice and design. So being instrumental in influencing people's life, that was something, I got a high on. And every day that brought new challenges or opportunity for learning and growth. And I think I was really lucky because I found the right partner to start the business. And I also had great mentors and industry peers who was constantly encouraging, in terms of how you need to go forward. And obviously, this also meant, a lot of sacrifice in terms of your personal family time. And, as women, we do get emotional many a times on this front, and also leads to some amount of self-doubt many times, I would say. So what I realized that, the only way that we are going to, succeed is to form a strong team, a team which is diverse and a team which does not have any kind of discrimination in it. So when we form that, I think that would be the biggest way that we could move forward. And obviously with this, my constant learning and unlearning, I think I've seen like over 200 projects now that we've completed. We've done across residential, commercial, where it's execution is something that people refrain from. So that's been my personal high, that I have been able to take my company forward with this. Coming to the lows, I think because it is such an intensive industry, for us, supply chain management, or dealing with people's personal choices, it's always been a very big challenge in terms of the timelines or the vendors. And also, since we are catering across geographies, that also is a very big challenge that we need to, cater to. So I think the right way forward for all of us would be like to have the right process and, embrace technology and, go out there and, position ourselves as a change maker in the real estate industry. So that's what I've looked at, and I think I've come a long way in the journey of this. And so that's what I would say has been my, I wouldn't have it any other way. And I think thanks to all you people also there who've been a great mentor or a good example to us, that I have been able to, move from a corporate world into a entrepreneurship journey. And I think I've seen a great journey so far.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Swathy. And, I was just thinking collectively, perhaps all of us have almost 150 years of real estate experience on this screen already today, right? And I was just thinking I'd be nowhere but here on this Friday evening. And it's a very interesting, intersection point, because we're not only talking of strengths and weaknesses of the real estate industry, but we're also bringing out women leadership and the strengths and weaknesses we've had to deal with in either our personal space or our professional space to be where we are, right? I think as women leaders, some of the strengths, some of the unique things that we've seen in our journey is that we've seen increasing representation, right? We've seen great networks developing for women to, actually have a career in real estate. I think some of the things that we hope that in our careers we will see is reduced gender bias. I think it's removing in some segments already. And also, definitely, I feel that in the industry, women are underrepresented. And it would be great to see more big women leader being represented in the real estate industry. But, let's focus on the industry itself, And I think, Yasha, you have a timeout call and you are in a bit of a hurry. So I would love to, ping a question to you. So when it comes to, technologically advanced landscape of real estate, right? And it's more and more of that in the globe and in the world today, in building, in construction sectors, what are the particular challenges we face that are impeding our growth?
Charu, see, from my very humble experience of 18 years, I see everybody is trying to innovate on two aspects. Aspect number one is customer facing. How do we create better products for customer cycle? How do we make customers buy online? How do we start prospecting the customers online? So one part of the community is only building products to enhance this entire experience from the customer mindset. The second set of people in the industry are trying to enhance a lot of products which can really do a lot of things about in terms of making the construction better, making the construction faster, the operational thing for the developer, right? So let me cover the first part. And I do this day in and out because I'm meeting the customers. I'm a marketer by profession. I meet the customer day in and out for my bread and butter in life. So what I see in the last 18 odd years from the customer perspective is, especially an Indian customer, buying a home is the most important thing for them in life and the most emotional decision. So sometimes, there is a joke, we compare this with the matrimony industry. The matrimony and home buying are the two life and death decisions for the customers. So the emotional quotient is so high. Are you going to buy a product through technology or online? I don't see that happening. What technology can really do for consumer facing or the consumer journey is, we can do a better prospecting. But ultimately, is he going to buy or is she going to buy online without even visiting the location? Can the technology reach that level in our industry? I really doubt that. I really doubt that, because ultimately what really can happen and what has been happening in so many years that we have seen, A lot of technology advancements are happening on the prospecting side, but not on the closing side. On the closing side, there's still customer is going to come, he's going to feel the product, he's going to see the location, he's going to see that whether there is a nala near my house and all of that. Only then, so the physical touch is really, really important as far as the consumer journey goes. So there is only prospecting part that the technology can really take care. In terms of construction and operational side, I'm not involved that much, but what I keep hearing from the industry are a couple of things. I'll tell you about them. First is what everybody keeps telling, and when I say everybody, I mean a lot of developers, because that's what we keep doing. We keep meeting a lot of developers. So what they keep saying is that, see, let's say a big brand, for example, like a Prestige or a Shobha, who are a multi-city player, they can bring in a lot of technology, which is, wherein a lot of cost is involved. And they can afford that because they have, let's say, a 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 crore of inventory to be sold in one particular year. But your 80% of the industry is not these A category developers. Your 80% of the industry is run B, C, D category developers who will launch one project in a year. Let's say a 200 crore inventory. That's about it. And they are going to deliver it after 2 years. Can they afford that much of technology in terms of better construction, faster construction? They sometimes doubt that. So what happens is they are still doing the old ways of doing the construction, which is not, so much technologically driven. That is one thing that I keep hearing. Second thing is, it is such a localized game. Like what happens in Karnataka may not happen in Maharashtra. So it's such a local game, such a decentralized game. So a common technology getting launched for, as an industry becomes very, very difficult. Third thing, what I keep hearing again from the peer circle is, there is a huge gap between what the technology is getting launched and the skilled labor. So even though, there are products which can do, let's say, a better construction, but do you have the enough labor, who can actually adapt that kind of a technology? So these kind of things are definitely there. But having said that, of course, if everything comes together, the government, the leaders, the technology providers, if everybody comes together, of course, I feel there's a lot of scope for improvement in our industry, is what I feel. Yeah.
Very interesting, Yasha, about, and I'm going to pick the thread on fragmentation of the industry on what you said and move to Dr. Ananta. So, we recognize, Dr. Ananta, that the market is fragmented, right? With numerous small developers leading to inconsistencies in quality, delays, trust issues amongst buyers. How do you think we can address it, right? Because as, coming on from what even Yasha was saying, that inability to perhaps even deploy easily available technology and just so many other things which could be best practices, right? Really keen to hear, given your deep experience in this segment.
Thank you. So, Charu, see, a monopolistic environment is never good in any micro market. So new players are definitely required in every market. And new is always welcome. Likewise, if you are new, obviously you'll start small. You cannot be big. Everybody was small at some point of time, and that's how they grew and became big. Having said that, if you were to just look at while I've worked in 20 different markets all over India, but if we were just to look at two little micro markets, let's pick up Noida, for example, and let's pick up Dwarka Expressway. Both these markets have flourished and done so well only because the new players came and took a risk. So if you were to look at Noida, look at how good Max is, or Gorsons, or M3M, or Gulshan, or Experion. They've all kind of transformed that whole place and made it ready for the next level. Similarly, Dwarka Expressway, while you may have the Shobhas and the Godrej and all of them there, but at the same time, even there, you had the conscient people come in, you had Puri walk in, you had Experion there, who worked really hard. Almost for a decade, things were stuck, but they were resilient enough to stand there. So I think new builders small builders, developers are really the need of the hour everywhere, as long as they do it well. Now, to do it well, where some of them do miss out on certain things is that if you're lacking in experience, and if you plug it with experienced people who have been there, done that, or, like she just mentioned about the skilling and the importance of skilling. And Dr. Ananya mentioned about the importance of actually being qualified for that job. This is not, you cannot say that, there's no rocket science. It's all science. Brick and mortar is all science. Whether it's architecture, whether it is civil engineering, or whether it is the latest materials that you use, so we make it sound very simple, but it is not simple business. So to do it well, talent acquisition, all of it has to fit in well. Last week, Charu, I had the opportunity to meet Padma Shri Ajay Chaudhary ji, the founder of HCL, and he's supporting 70 plus startups. So what he said is very simple. He said A is greater than R. So, to be a successful entrepreneur, businessman, corporate leader, your aspirations are always greater than your resources.
I love that.
I loved it. And he's written a book, Just Aspire. That's his biography. Okay. And he actually, when he started writing, he was writing it, for his grandson. And then he realized it would help people like us also. And, so life is a journey. Similarly, real estate, there's only that much land. And again, this weekend I was driving down from Noida to Nimrana, and there wasn't a single square yard vacant. We are going vertical, we are doing everything. So it's just about owning it and being responsible enough and then doing it right, But the good news is that you have so many NRIs, you have all these funds coming in. I mean, Noida, see what the Galaxy Group is doing. They're so committed. They're willing to walk that difficult path. And it is all these forums. I think that's where you remember you and I last year, I think we did a study on why women are so apprehensive about joining our industry. So those who joined are like us. They'll fight their way through. They are so passionate. They are so strong. They'll break all barriers. They'll make their pass and they'll move up. But then there are others who are very talented, but they may need that type of support and inclusion. And it's for all of us to do that. That's how NAREDCO MAHI got created, right? We're meeting again on the 14th for that. Yeah. So same as the thing with builders also. The learning from the past really helps in carving out the future. So it's good the new players come, but also that is where, Realty Plus, Sapna, Tripti, they play such an important role, because you can learn from other people's experiences and not make those same very mistakes. But definitely RERA, demonetization, all of this has helped hell of a lot. And it's not the same industry anymore.
Yeah, true, Dr. Ananta. And, Shaifali, given your experience with DivyaSree, right? It's a big corporate house. It operates in that manner. And you have the same lens. I mean, you have a lens and a view to the same question. And I'm very keen to hear what your view is. And if you want, I'll repeat the same question which I asked Dr. Ananta. We recognize that the market is fragmented with numerous small developers, leading to inconsistencies in quality, delays, and trust issues amongst buyers. So how do you think it can be addressed?
Sure. So I think I completely resonate with what Dr. Ananta was also saying, that small developers or small entrepreneurs, as I would call it often, they actually bring more value than inconsistencies or in terms of qualities and delays. So there are pros and cons of it. See, today in the market that we are in, luxury is not only about brands. Luxury is about bespoke designs, right? So what these small developers, individual, one-time developers bring to the table, in fact, they up that bespoke quality quotient so high that they become the disruptors of what is the next product that has to be offered, right? Now, that is one part of it. now the other second part of it, that there are also these small-time developers who probably do a shoddy job, right? And hence the client at the end of the day feels cheated and paints the entire developer community with the same brush, that all developers are bad. However, because of such incidents, that has also led to the result of regulatory frameworks like RERA, like the entire, today NCDRC, which is the consumer court, is so strong, right? And customers are not hesitant in going there and questioning whether whichever developer it is, big, small, or medium size. So I think all in all, if you were to look at it, small developers, fragmented developments, actually, to me, if done in the right way with the right intention, targeted at a very, very niche market, they actually become market disruptors, setting up the bar very high. Right. They also, and I think this is a very important aspect because, and Charu, you'll resonate with it, is because I think one is the construction life cycle, but there is a whole life cycle of a building after the construction is over, after the occupier has moved in. And these small developers, very niche startup developers, they actually are even setting up the bar very high, even post-construction, post-handover, during the operation life cycle. And this is where today I look up to them, because I'm saying that what is the next disruption coming along, which we can imbibe the agility that they bring to the table and to the industry, the flexibility in their operation. Right. And as vis-a-vis a big organization, and all of us work in big enough organizations to know that sometimes to make a smallest of the change, it seems like you're moving a whole mountain. Right. So there's those learnings, and the ones which are the bad apples from this so-called small industry, they are the people who give the thought process to the government and regulatory authority how to tighten the system, how to make everybody more accountable, big or small.
True. I think very well said, Sheifali. And I think that brings to mind a question on sustainable practices and compared to global standards. And Swathy, I'm going to jump to you for this one, right? So compared to our global standards, the adaptation of advanced construction technologies, sustainable practices is slower, right? Because one, of course, is everything impacts the cost for the end user, and it does affect the efficiency and the long-term viability of the project, etc. So what innovative strategies and approaches can be, really adapted, right, which are practical to integrate technology towards, a sustainable development?
Charu, for directing this question towards me, because sustainability is very close to my heart. It's actually quite interesting to note the shift in focus towards sustainability in the construction industry itself. Although it's pretty ironic, because since in India, I feel that we've always had a rich history of sustainable practices ingrained in our traditional architecture throughout with our building techniques. In fact, I would say our ancestors are, they were adept at adaptive space planning methods like courtyards, jalis, using eco-friendly materials like your lime plasters, etc. We've actually always been environmentally friendly structures. We've used local materials, efficient design principles. But somewhere I feel with globalization, we've drifted away from our roots, and we've started being influenced by global technology and construction. And we've really forgotten the importance of what vernacular architecture could do towards sustainability and strategies. So I believe that, for us to realign our sustainable roots and integrate modern technology towards sustainability is very, very important. I think we need to adopt something called as a AAA approach. That is, you align, you adopt, and you accept. So this would probably involve leveraging our traditional knowledge. We align it with global best practices, and we accept the importance of sustainability in today's world. Example, I would say we got to think globally, but we definitely need to act locally, right? It will be very crucial for us to endeavor this, especially in our real estate segment, because we are so environmentally, I would say we are there, affecting the environmental impact in a very big way, right? All of us. So I think some key strategies that we could consider would be like, one is to measure what we manage. So we got to adopt sustainability platforms. Like, you have your lead Griha, but we need to find the suitable platforms, and we need to evaluate, what we want to do in terms of sustainability for a specific typology of a building. And other strategy which I learned in my masters and I take it through my entire business would be the integrated project management approach, which I believe is a very crucial thing, because we got to involve all the stakeholders from the very beginning, so that we streamline decisions, we make processes, and we make it very transparent, because transparency is one of the key towards sustainable practices, I would say. And we need to basically bring about changes, minimize the changes that comes during these project execution phases, because that's what creates a lot of impact in terms of transportation or material wastage or change management that we call. And this brings us to also our supply chain management, because when you look at the entire life cycle of a project, from the conceptualization to the entire execution, right? Uh, Sourcing the materials, or the way we source it, or the kind of vendors we deal with, right? All of this somewhere, kind of impacts the carbon footprint that we are dwelling with. So it's very important for us to, adapt to these things and accept that this is the new norm, and we have to go about it in a very responsible manner. So every small step we take towards sustainability would obviously count towards a larger goal that we are all, working and focusing towards. But it has to come from the heart. That is the most important, I feel. And we should not do it just for the book thing. We need to get a LEED certification. I've been in projects where, we want a LEED certification. So we start doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we need to go beyond that and really embrace it, with all our emotions. And I think this the best way would be leading by example. So what I have, done all through my career, or when I started the companies, I consciously realized that integrating sustainability into every practice, see, we should not just look at it in terms of eco-friendly materials. We got to look at it from a holistic perspective, a 360-degree approach that I call. And that's the only way we can move towards a greener future. And I think, we got to also be the example for our future generation. We need to make them understand the value of this, and how this could really impact the real estate sector, be it the construction technologies, be it the way we process, and be it the entire, ecosystem from our vendors right up to the clients. I think it's very important for us to educate them and make them believe that this is the way forward. And that's what I believe in.
Yeah. I think we're in a way a very fortunate place, because as Indians, we grow up with a lot of sustainability at the back of our minds, right, without even realizing, in terms of reusing a lot of stuff. And that's how we grow up, right? That's how our culture is built. But I think there are some themes that are coming through in terms of how fragmentation is not necessarily a bad thing, because it brings uniqueness into any kind of domain. We're talking of sustainability. We're talking of the fact that real estate is no joke. It is really a science, right? So, given some of those diverse thoughts that come through, I want to come to you, Dr. Gandotra. You were, a technical, in a sense, master of your space. And I would really like to hear your views on what you think are the major strengths of the Indian real estate sector that contribute to its growth and development.
Sorry, Charu, is this question to me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I missed in the middle. Okay, so I do feel that the Indian real estate, we have lots of things happening for us. One is that, there is certain level of economic, geopolitical stability. I know elections are just, happening, but I think that contributes a lot, to real estate, how the political, economic, and, the geographical setup is. And as, Ananta was mentioning about, say, infrastructure, for example. Infrastructure, if there is a road, the real estate booms in that zone. So that essentially comes from not just the leadership in real estate, but it becomes the whole, scenario of the country. So these are direct and indirect influences on real estate, how that is going to be today, how it's going to be in future. And not just the A towns, the B and the C towns also get those prospects that they can aspire to be another Gurgaon or a Noida, or, and then the other things like airports, for example. And some of us who've seen the airports in America versus what we have in India, they are definitely many notches higher. So essentially, the state infrastructure, the public and the private sector, I think that kind of together bring the real estate to its next level. And I do feel that both are doing great in their own individual sectors. For example, for a very long time, the public sector was not being looked at, or was not considered to be doing so well as the private. But now just even look at the equity and the share markets. People are looking at public sector very, very, carefully. And that essentially is also one strong point for Indian real estate per se, from a private, player's perspective. The other thing is the kind of talent that we have, the kind of, the kind of people that we are bringing into organizations and working and grooming and the culture. I think that is also a positive thing, that versus other industries which were much more, I would say, much more developed or advanced in terms of the way they would run their own industries. I think real estate is also catching up and trying to be considered to be one of those, powerful asset building or the pillars of the country. And the middle class, I think the middle class, the way it has grown in India, the younger generations that are coming in, most of us runs our home, and we see how the lower segment is wanting and giving an impetus on education. I think again and again, I kind of strongly propagate education, not just in the actual certificate, but the fact what you're bringing inside your house, the mothers, how they are telling their daughters or their sons or children how they should become an individual and how they should go out and work in the industry. So real estate essentially is a home, first of all, and then it goes out and becomes a larger industry as such. So I think that is one of the things that I feel is extremely powerful. And the various players that are coming, the organized sector which are moving, you name all the big players in the country, they're all in the real estate. And they are there for the reason is that because they want to bring a shift in the way real estate was being perceived. And as someone was mentioning about bespoke designs, the best of the industry professionals globally, they have presence in India, be it the consultants. And you would be really astonished with the fact, which I read, I can't say it is, meaning I own it, but the largest collection, or I would say, of tar cranes in the world is in city Mumbai. So what does it talk about? It talks about the amount of development that is taking place in India. And so therefore, I am quite bullish about real estate, and so should a lot of us others.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gandotra. I want to quickly get you in, Sheetal, because you see a very, you actually see closely the young India work, right, in the offices that you manage pass through you, right? What is your view through your lens? How do you see the strengths and weaknesses of this, younger generation passing through the workforce?
All right, Charu, in the interest of time, I'm going to keep my answer quite short. In terms of, besides the young workforce, I don't know if you all are aware, but my company got listed yesterday. And we're the first co-working space in, thank you, first co-working space in India to get listed. So we're public now. And that is actually an indication on where the industry is also headed. I've been with them almost since the beginning. So in the last less than a decade, the industry has grown so much. And there are a lot of new asset classes which are growing, which includes co-working. And that is also an indication of how open the industry has become to have new spaces come in. So some of the strengths that, Dr. Ananya mentioned, I would say this would be one of them, is that we are more accepting and we are ready to adopt newer methods, newer spaces coming in. In terms of some of the weaknesses, Charu, and I'll come to your question about the workforce also, is that we tend to think of real estate, and especially ones who've been there for quite some time, in a very almost unidimensional way of residential real estate. That's our first thought. But there is a very large portion of commercial real estate. There's a large portion of warehousing, retail, and co-working now, which forms this huge part and a very growing aspect of real estate. With the young workforce, and I think again I'm going to quote Dr. Ananya when she's talking about tier 2 cities. So a lot of movement in reverse migration started during COVID. And unfortunately, the demand and supply is not matching, because the supply of spaces in tier 2 cities is not as high as the demand for those spaces have come up. We were mentioning a fragmentation a little while ago, and maybe the problem that we are talking about is not about small players. The problem is practices followed by any player. Maybe the larger players are a little more accountable because, we are public, we are noticed, the noise is more, but best practices could come in from anywhere. And finally, to answer your question on the talent, it's one of my personal pet peeves is that till date, from a marketing perspective, real estate is not really considered the most creative field. So it's not people's first choice generally, and which is really sad, because see, where interior design or architecture is concerned, yes, because it's a very high profile aspect of real estate. But marketing is not considered that. So I really think that hopefully that is going to change, because of the kind of work that is happening in the industry now is much larger. The scope is much larger, and we'll hopefully be able to kind of get and groom that talent.
Hey, thanks, Sheetal. And I think Sapna has emerged on the screen to tell us our time is up. I mean,
Yes.
there were, so give me 30 seconds to wrap up, Sapna. I mean, there was a few questions I really did want to ask this panel in terms of how do we fix our leaky, faucet in terms of, gender diverse talent, etc. Given Sapna has emerged, I'll quickly wrap up in terms of what I see as strengths and weaknesses of real estate, really. I think we're very fortunate to be in the country we are in right now. It's a fantastic economy. We have our colleagues coming from all over the world who go inspired from here and completely rejuvenated. So I think the best place to be in. We have a great demographic advantage, right, in terms of our young population. Government is taking great initiatives. There's a lot of foreign investment coming in, and our infrastructure development is really great. You go to any part of the country today, you'd be amazed to see the quality of the road and the real infrastructure that's come up. I think our weaknesses I think my top one would be to see definitely more female leadership in everything that we do. And we have to do everything as a network to ensure that this faucet is not leaking. That the talent that comes in just does not evaporate from here. The thing is, the usual ones, which we've spoken about, the regulatory challenges, the high costs, some parts of fragmentation, though I think Sheifali very rightly said, it's not necessarily, and Dr. Ananta, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Economic volatility and slow adoption of technology, right? So that's a quick wrap, Sapna. I wish we had 2 hours, but I do hope at some point we do get to meet everyone face to face to bring the human element into the discussion. But thanks for bringing us together, Sapna. This has been a worthwhile Friday evening. Thank you, everyone.
At least, yeah. It was great. At least we were able to get to meet each other, even if it is just on screen, but we get to know each other. That's more important, And so before quickly we finish this session, one question that I want to ask everyone is, one word. In one word, you have to tell me what is that woman leader brings to the table in an organization. One word, if you can share. Starting with you, Charu, what does a woman leader brings to the table?
Empathy.
Fantastic. Shaifali, what's your one word
Since
for
my
it?
first word has been taken by Charu, I'll go with hustle.
Hustle.
Good one.
Okay, yeah, we are great hustlers. I agree. Swati, what would you like to add? You're on mute. You're on mute, Swati.
Multitasking.
Okay, yeah, great. Yeah, we all agree to that. Sheetal.
I'm amazed that, 3 people thought of empathy as the first word. I would say authenticity.
Authenticity, yeah. We always think of new things in our minds, right? Dr. Ananya, what do you think that one word comes to your mind?
Actually, I would have think too, but my first choice is equality.
Okay.
And my second is
yes.
my second is balance.
Balance, yeah, balance and equality. That's fantastic. Women leaders do bring that to the table. Dr. Ananta, what would you like to add?
Focus.
Focus, yeah. So while we do multitask,
No breaks. Just focus, target.
yeah, we do multitask, we do balance, but we are also very focused. That's very true. So I think all the great words for women leaders, we are also happy to hear that. So fantastic session. I think we got to know a lot about what are the the strengths of real estate. Yes, real estate is on a great growth path, growth trajectory. Challenges will remain, they will keep coming up, emerging with as we progress, but we are in the right direction, as all our speakers here have said that. So thank you so much for this fantastic panel. As Charu said, we needed at least 2 hours for this discussion, but maybe next time we'll take it forward from here. Thank you so much, everyone. Shaifali for joining, Sheetal being here part of this session.
And a big round of
Swati,
applause for you, Sapna. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you
Sapna.
very
Thank
much.
you for having us over. And thank you,
Yasha.
Charu, for moderating the
We
session.
forgot your one word, Yasha. We have to have your word.
Yeah, I would say after all the words taken, I would say more integrity probably in the
Yes,
okay, yes,
absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
integrity is something
yeah,
else we missed.
and also thank you, Charu, for stitching all of these things together. It was a great
That was a great session, Charu.
Right.
yeah, thanks.
Gave us
So
like
fantastic
really
moderation, fantastic panel, and fantastic valuable insights that we got from our speakers. Thank you so much.